Okay. So many buttons to hit early in the morning. Anyway, welcome everyone to White Sands Self-Care Community. I am your host, Laura Cross, and I have the pleasure of having Ashton Rodenhiser with us today. She is the founder of Mind's Eye Creative Consulting, and she brings ideas to life through graphic recording and facilitation. And I love the fact that she is an advocate for doodlers. So we really welcome everybody to tap into their inner artist. I'm glad she could make it because she is coming to us from rural Canada and she's got a storm moving in. So, Ashton, thank you for being able to join us today.
Absolutely, Laura. I'm so jazzed to be here with you, even with the storm outside. I am like I see your relax and all those images in the back, and I'm like, yes, I'm channeling that energy while there's a storm happening outside. Yeah,
I'm
so happy to
channeling
be
it in too. We had nothing but
here.
overcast skies and rain and snow. So it's icy outside, but it's warmer today. So I'm like, woohoo. But so
Yeah.
tell everybody, how did you get started with that? I mean, I know you and I have talked a little bit, and we've always heard the things of, starving artist and, oh, you need to do something because you won't get paid for that. But
Yeah.
you've actually tapped into it. I mean, what was your kind of your journey? I know we go into more detail on your episode coming up on Monday, but if you can share a little bit with everybody.
Yeah, so yeah, it's really about you know, I really did not follow a bit of a traditional path, but I also did not follow the path of an artist because I really did believe that it was like, not possible to be a professional artist. And yeah, so I really honestly just had like the desire to be a mom. So I followed a path of childhood education, and it led me into facilitation, which led me into graphic facilitation around how you visualize conversations. And I just totally fell in love. And I found this world 10 years ago. And I just was like, this is it. This is like the best thing I've ever found. And yeah, that's the short and long of it. We'll get
Short and
into it more, like you said.
yeah, we get
Deeper.
into more of it in a lot of detail. But maybe for those that are watching right now, maybe you can just describe a little bit of what you mean by graphic facilitation.
Yeah, so like imagine yourself in a meeting, right? Meetings can be traditionally kind of boring. But instead of, your heads down taking your own notes, or you're like, you can't remember what people are saying, or at the end of the meeting, you leave and the next day you're like, I don't even know, that would seem like a waste of time. I'm there in that meeting or that conference or that strategy session. And as people are having a conversation or as someone's presenting information, I'm drawing out in real time what they're saying or what the conversation is, so that when you leave that conference, you're like, oh, I know what the conference speaker said. And I can now apply this to my work and life. Or you're in that meeting, you leave that meeting feeling like your voice was heard, that you felt like you were part of a collective, and you know what that vision is moving forward, and you know what steps you need to take. So, and because most people think of pictures and a picture's worth 1,000 words, majority of people resonate with learning and engaging in a visual way. Like the example I always give is like YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world for a reason,
Mhm.
because people want to see what it is that they're trying to learn, right?
Right.
So I love how this work is powerful in many different ways in the moment and after an event to keep a conversation going.
I know we didn't discuss this ahead of time, but do you happen to have one of your samples
Oh
by
my
you?
goodness. I'll just grab one off the wall because
Okay.
I'll have a few
Okay,
here.
well, why she does that, I just want to say she's really amazing because she walks into conferences and stuff. There you go. She walks into conferences and stuff, not even knowing what they're going to talk about, and has the ability to just do this and kick out the whole graphic and the message, which to me is amazing in itself. But yeah,
Yes. Yeah, you can kind of see it's like there's visuals there, right? It's very visually appealing, but
mhm,
there's also a lot of information, right? So
right.
this was one of my favorite because Adam Grant is just an incredible human being. And he's got like a million TED Talks and a million books, but so like you can get from that, and like a fireside chat, like that's a good example of something that might be a little bit more difficult to harness afterwards. right? Where
Right.
you're like, oh, that fireside chat was so interesting, but like, I don't remember the nuances and things that he had talked about. I just remember that I liked it, right? And like liking something and appreciate something is one aspect to learning, but then like if you want to learn something or engage with something to then take that information and make an impact in your own life, which is what I would like to think that the majority of when we meet or the majority when speakers speak, it's because the what is the outcome? What's the goal of someone standing on the stage and speaking, or what's the outcome of that meeting? Chances are there's something about moving that forward, right? Moving, being inspired to do something or having action items to do something, right? But we cannot actually move forward with that information or that inspiration if we don't remember the nuances and the things and the practical items that are reflective that came out of that meeting or presentation or what have you.
Yeah, and it brings up so many good points because I've been to a number of conferences and I don't know about anybody else, but for one, when you're there, it's like you don't want to miss what they're saying. And if they're a speaker that has slides, I've gone to just taking my cell phone and taking pictures because if I'm focused on trying to write down everything, I'm not truly listening to what they're saying and you don't get the whole, message. And then you get home and you're looking at this, it's like, and you're like, okay, what was this again? Because you write notes that you think make sense at the time, but then later it's like, okay, not even sure what that was, and he winds up just going in file 13 or
Exactly.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
and like I think, just I think it's almost like an act of rebellion just to put pen to paper these days, right?
yeah.
Because what happens when you go to a meeting, like everyone just brings out their laptop. Like I was at a session a few weeks ago before Christmas, and I everyone sat down and started opening up their laptops, and I went to my co-facilitator and I was like, "Can we ask them to put their laptops away, please?" So it's like, you know, we kind of fall into habits, right? Not just in these situations, but in life in general. And then we accept those habits to be just the way that it is, right? And we have gotten away from some things that are actually really like meaningful and powerful way of like engaging and learning, and that's like the good old pen and paper, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think almost, taking back the power of the pen or marker or crayon or pencil or whatever it is you have lying around can actually be quite a shift for your own engaging and learning for sure.
Well, and it keeps your creativity, going instead of just, I think it would make it, to me, I would think it would makes it more fun. It taps into your creativity and
And that's why I'm
yeah.
such an advocate for doodling, because doodling is a very non-threatening way to put pen to paper, right? If you say to somebody, doodle something or draw something
Hmm.
or create a piece of art, there's like different levels of how you feel about those words. You're like, okay, I can't create a piece of art and I can't draw, but maybe I could doodle. Like most people can get behind that they can doodle
Doodle.
because we don't attach meaning to it most of the time, right? We
Right.
know that a lot of doodles are meant to serve a purpose in time, and it just ends up in your notes and you don't think about them, or it's like you doodle something on a piece of paper and you throw it away, right? And
Hmm.
doodling can be a really powerful act to help you stay focused, to help you like think through an idea, right? And without putting a lot of like pressure. So I love using doodling as a gateway into other creative forms of engaging and learning, and like you can actually draw. Drawing like should be a form to help you think and not something to put on a wall to be admired. Like the visuals and things that I create, drawings that I create for clients, and I teach people how to do it their own, they don't always have to be like precious artwork. Like when I'm in person and we put paper on the wall and we do it that way, when I give it at the end of the day or the end of the event, I always tell the client, you can throw this away, right? This was a moment in time, and you're going to have a digital photocopy that you can always like print and give around to people. But like if this paper copy is collecting dust in 3 years, you have my permission to throw it out. Because we like attach so much meaning, and there is a lot of meaning to them. And I don't definitely don't want to like say that there isn't, because that is their words, wisdom and their words and stuff. But
Right.
it also serves a purpose and time. And I think that's what we, can look at doodling as a way to, you know, put pen to paper to help us think, help us learn, help us engage, help us think through complex ideas in a really non-threatening way that also is like not precious, right? We don't have to attach meaning to it. So
Right. And I would think it can also help you communicate or even escape. If you just need to like distract your mind on something, just escape or reset your mind, which is all about self-care or being mindful because you have to
exactly.
protect your space. But maybe some people communicate better that way.
Yeah, like just doodling to kind of like reset your brain. You can use it in so many different ways from a learning perspective, and then also from like a mindfulness, meditation, self-care perspective. Like, even just like, I'm just going to sit here. Like maybe you're not like a meditator, but like you could like just mindfully be doodling something. Like I'm just going to be moving my arm. I'm just going to like have a little push while I'm pushing like the reset button, right? Because some people can't just like sit there in the silence and be like, I'm not thinking any thoughts. I'm not thinking any
Right.
thoughts, right? Right. So, like, I think it's a beautiful, like, the way that doodling can be such a non-threatening way to ways of learning, but then also ways of like pushing that reset button and being mindful. And yeah, like there's just so many different ways that you can use it. And I think that's a really powerful way as well.
Yeah. And we go into a lot more detail on this because your episode is coming up this Monday on Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross, and it's called Doodling with Purpose because she does doodle with purpose. It's not always just a waste of time. And I love the view that you bring that and all the details. Maybe you can share with everybody a little bit of how you work with people, how we can get how they can get a hold of you. I will put all your social links in the comments when we're done, but go ahead and let them know.
Yeah, I definitely work in person and virtually with like meetings and conferences and events. And I definitely love being in that space where working with people who care about the learning and engagement of people in that room. So that kind of looks very, different in person and different in digitally, but being able to see the drawing unfold and hear it live. I don't, sometimes it's not always live, but that's a beautiful way to do it. And then I also have like a lot of my focus this year is teaching people how to do this for themselves, right? Like, it's nice to be able to spend 10 things, and I've been doing that for 10 years, but being able to for you to kind of take back the power of the pen for yourself and learn how to do this in a way that can help you in your own learning or mindfulness, um, that is all Sketchnote School. So Sketchnote School is everything related to that world of learning. So sketchnote.school for that, and Mind's Eye Creative for all things me as a professional. So yeah.
Yeah, and you've done like what over 2,500 or something presentations. You've done a number of them. You've
Yeah,
done a number.
I'm definitely, I need to update it. I think I'm well over 3,000 from last year. I haven't done my final numbers for 2023,
Yeah,
but I'm definitely well over 3,000 at this point. But yeah, I
I
think,
am not surprised.
yeah.
Well, Ashton, I want to thank you for taking the time to share that with everybody. I will put all your social links and stuff in the comments so they'll know how to get a hold of you. If you guys want more detail, because she goes into more detail about how this, got started and some things that you can do and what it does, then tune into Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross this Monday at 1 o'clock. You can even find it on my YouTube channel, on Facebook, or on E360 TV under the Voyage to Vitality channel. And it is called Doodling with a Purpose. Or you can always watch it later whenever it suits you because it'll be there. So it's not going anywhere. But I want to thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today. And stay
Yeah, thanks for
warm.
having me. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, try and stay warm. Hopefully you don't lose your power because I know how that goes when you're in a rural area.
Yeah, it's all good. Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and we will see you uh actually Friday because I have another one on Friday. So we'll see you on Friday.